'Tis the damn season, am I right? Happy New Year, everybody. It's no longer 2020, so that means my lungs are functional again. We can all breathe. Birds are chirping again, and nothing bad will ever happen again. We're going to review a couple of different things today, but first I'd like to say that I have some big, time-intensive projects in the works, so subscribe so that you don't miss any of that stuff. So, Taylor Swift's Evermore. It actually came out the night after I released my folklore review, which was really funny, but obviously it's been a while since then, so I've had a good month or so to completely digest this album. Overall, I really appreciate the production on this one. It sort of immediately sets itself apart from folklore on Willow with this like warmer, more organic sort of percussion sound and just a nice like homey feel. Folklore sort of had that, but I would say there's like a notable difference. For some specific examples, the multi-tracked vocal harmonies in Champagne Problems really work effectively, especially those like angelic background vocals are just really beautiful. The song Gold Rush, though it isn't one of my favorites on the album, had a lot of highly layered production that I really appreciated. Tolerate It has this like buzzing beat mixed really low in the chorus, and it almost sounds like nagging, especially in contrast to the really like simple piano chords that make up most of the rest of the song. And it really works, I think, with the themes of the song, how Taylor feels. She feels like sort of a nuisance to this person that she's talking to in the song. The song Marjorie has these soaring strings and these jumpy synth lines that really add a lot of momentum to that track. I also love the rough percussion sounds on Long Story Short and Closure. That, along with how layered the production is on Long Story Short, almost reminds me of the Postal Service, which is never a bad thing. The instrumentation on Nobody No Crime makes me feel like I'm hanging out in an Old West cantina.
Hey, you son, keep down over there.
The synth sound on Happiness, as well as the building volume and layers on the track, make it a surprisingly triumphant and optimistic breakup song. Coney Island also has nice, sort of subtly intensifying instrumentation across the track. Ivy has this really infectious chorus that I just can't get it out of my head. My pain fits in the palm of your freezing hand. And as far as the lyrics go, I mean, the lyrics on Champagne Problems make it feel like my heart's being broken. 'Tis the Damn Season explores personal regrets and how sometimes life can make you choose one love over another. Evermore also happens to improve on some of the issues that I personally had with folklore. For example, one of my complaints last time was that the vocals didn't have enough expression in them, that Taylor was just singing and singing well, but that she wasn't putting enough feeling into it. And I did feel that the vocals on Evermore really felt like they had a lot more expression in certain cases, such as the song Happiness, where Swift really sounds more tender and vulnerable, or Nobody No Crime, where she just sounds like she's having a blast in the recording booth. I mean, there's like a yodel in there. There's like a couple of points where she sort of whispers into the microphone, you know? Nobody No Crime storytelling is just so compelling that it really fits with that really more expressive vocal tone. I also felt like Taylor improved a lot lyrically on this album. The song Closure is bitterly honest and honestly bitter, while the song Marjorie is just chock full of self-reflection. And then Coney Island sort of feels like what Exile was for folklore, but honestly it feels even more honest and insightful, being sorry that you couldn't have been better in a previous relationship, that you didn't feature them prominently enough in your own story. And as one last note on this album, I'd just like to say that Swift and Bon Iver complement each other so well. I really hope they keep working together in the future. Exile and Evermore are easily two of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. Overall, I really feel like my only sort of issue with this album, other than it, again, not really being much of my style, is that it sort of sags a little bit towards the middle. Maybe the pacing is off. The flow of the album just isn't quite there for like an hour-long album. That does take a lot of work, so I'm not surprised. I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10, somewhere around there. And next, Soul. So this is the new Pixar film. I saw it on Disney Plus like not even a week ago, so it's very top of mind. First, I'm going to go over some sort of general notes I have on the film, and then go into a few more spoilery things. So I'll let you know when I'm about to go into those so that you can click off if you don't want to be spoiled. So first, obviously, this movie looks great. Pixar movies always look good. They're super talented animators. I don't know how a movie of theirs could really look that bad. I also thought the voice acting in this film was pretty great. And there were also some genuinely cute moments in the writing and the performances that really made me laugh and I thought were really clever.
H-E double hockey sticks?
Hell?
I'd also like to say that the music in this film I thought was really great. You had this original soundtrack by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and it added a lot of contrast to the sort of New York jazz sound that goes through a lot of the film. So I really liked those two sort of conflicting sounds in the film. The Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross being more of like an electronic sort of and I don't know, like a really synthy sound. I also really loved the two primary settings of this film. And here's where I'll go into spoilers because I don't really know how I can explain them without it. So basically, the main setting of the film, you could say, is the sort of jazz scene of New York. That's what the main character's primary passion is in the film. But within like the first 15 minutes, the character dies and then goes into sort of an abstract world where it's sort of like a life after death and a life before life sort of world. And I really liked both of those settings. They both could have worked even independently of each other as a film. It almost feels like there were two different ideas for a movie that they really didn't know how to flesh out fully, so they just kind of jammed them together. I also really loved the character design in the abstract world. It's really creative, and even goes down to like the way they move is completely different than any of the other characters, and I really appreciated details like that. But in general, my main problem with this film is in its structure. I just really didn't feel like it came together very well, particularly when it comes to the main characters. You have this main protagonist who's supposed to be sort of sympathetic, you're supposed to root for along the course of the film, but every decision he makes only really serves himself. He's one of the most selfish characters I've ever seen in a film. I mean, he's like nearing Wolf of Wall Street levels of being an asshole. And over the course of the film, I only grew to dislike him more, unfortunately. So much so that towards the end of the film, when he eventually ends up giving his life away to his like newfound friend and to a person who deserves it much more than he does, by the way, I really needed still a lot more to feel like he was a complete person, and not just kind of a dick who did one nice thing in his entire life. But instead, all we're served to is like this big revelation where he gives his life away and then he gets his life back from these like god people, and then he just walks out onto a step. And it's like, well, that's the end of the film. I mean, I see where the internal change occurs within the film. They sort of hammer that home well enough, but I need like an application. I need to know where he went from here, how his life changed as a result of his personal journey that he went on over the course of the film. Again, overall, some really fun and interesting ideas. Some of them weren't fleshed out as well as I'd like them to be, but I really appreciated all the creativity that went into this one, and the execution was even mostly solid, but the structure of the film just left the whole thing really unsatisfying to me. So I'm going to have to give this one 6 out of 10. So lastly, again, I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this, and we'll see you soon.